While you were scrolling TikTok this morning, China built another mile of high-speed rail. In the time it takes you to watch this video, they'll finish laying enough track to connect two cities. And here's the part that'll make you do a double take. America invented the airplane, put humans on the moon, built the internet. But somehow, in 2025, we can't build a train that goes fast. All right, let's talk about one of the most embarrassing infrastructure comparisons in modern history. And I mean genuinely embarrassing. China, 25,000 miles of high-speed rail. That's 25 with 3 zeros. America, 50 miles, 50, 50. That's not a typo. That's not me being dramatic. That's the actual distance where American trains can hit speeds that qualify as high speed by international standards, basically from New York City to Philadelphia. You couldn't even cross Pennsylvania with our high-speed rail. But here's where this goes from embarrassing to absolutely mind-blowing. China's network is so massive, if you laid it out in a straight line, it could wrap around the Earth's equator, the entire planet. Our 50 miles wouldn't even get you from Manhattan to the Hamptons. Let's put this in perspective with other countries. Spain, which has the second largest high-speed rail network in the world, has about 2,300 miles. Japan, the country that invented bullet trains back in 1964, has around 1,800 miles. Germany, about 1,600. France, around 1,700. South Korea, about 600. China has more high-speed rail than Japan, Spain, France, Germany, Italy, Turkey, South Korea, the UK, and yes, the United States, combined, and then some. They own 2/3 of every single mile of high-speed rail track on this planet. Okay, so maybe you're thinking, well, China's been building this for like 50 years, right? They just had a massive head start. Wrong. And this is where the story gets absolutely wild. August 8th, 2008, the Beijing Olympics, the world's watching, China's showing off, and at that exact moment, China had exactly 0 miles of the modern high-speed rail network we're talking about today. 0, zilch, nada, nothing. Fast forward to today, late 2025, they've built over 25,000 miles. Some estimates put it closer to 30,000. That's not over a century. That's not over 50 years. That's 17 years. Let me break down that math for you, because it's honestly hard to comprehend. 25,000 miles divided by 17 years equals about 1,470 miles built every single year for nearly 2 decades straight. That's 4 miles of brand new high-speed rail track being completed every single day. While you sleep, eat breakfast, go to work, come home, and sleep again. 4 more miles of track capable of handling trains at 220 miles per hour got built in China. Now let's talk about California, because this comparison will make you laugh or cry, probably both. 1996, Bill Clinton is president. The Macarena is playing at every wedding. And California starts seriously planning its high-speed rail system. They study it, they plan it, they debate it. 2008, voters approve it with Proposition 1. A huge celebration. Everyone's excited. 2015, they break ground on the first section in the Central Valley. 2025, we're now almost 30 years from when planning started. 29 years, nearly 3 decades. 0. Not one passenger has ever ridden California's high-speed rail. Not one single person has bought a ticket. The trains don't exist yet. The tracks aren't finished. So what's happening here? How can one country build the world's largest high-speed rail network in less than 2 decades, while another can't build a single line in 3? The answer is way more complicated and way more interesting than you think. Let's follow the money, because this is where things go from interesting to absolutely insane.
China's entire network, all 25,000 miles of it, cost them somewhere in the ballpark of $360 billion. Now, I know what you're thinking. 360 billion?
That's a huge number.
That's a huge number.
That's an astronomical amount of
And
money.
you're right.
But hold on.
That's an astronomical amount of money.
Project, just one line.
But hold on.
520
California's
miles,
high-speed
that's
rail
San Francisco
project.
down to Los Angeles.
Just
plus
one
some
line.
connection to Anaheim.
520 miles. That's San Francisco down to Los Angeles, plus some connection to Anaheim.
California, one state,
current estimated
one line,
cost?
520 miles.
$135 billion. Let me say that again with emphasis.
25,000
California,
miles,
one state,
360
one
billion.
line,
Time for some
520
math that'll blow
miles.
your mind.
135
China's cost per
billion.
mile, approximately
China,
$14
entire
million.
country, 25,000
California's
miles.
cost per mile,
360
approximately
billion.
$260 million.
Time for some math that'll blow your
California's
mind.
rail costs 18 times
China's
more per
cost
mile
per
than
mile,
China's entire
approximately
network
$14
average.
million.
You could build China's entire 25,000
California's
mile
cost
network
per mile,
almost twice
approximately
over with California's
$260
budget.
million.
Or look at it this way.
California's rail
California is
costs
spending
18
on
times more per mile
520
than
miles,
China's entire
China
network
built
average.
48,000
You could build
miles
China's
worth of
entire
track. And here's
25,000
the
mile
kicker.
network almost twice
California's
over with
estimate
California's
keeps going
budget.
up.
Or look
In
at it this way.
2008, when voters
For what
approved
California
it, the
is spending
estimate
on
was 33
520
billion.
miles,
By
China built
2012,
48,000 miles worth of
billion.
track.
By 2016,
And
it was
here's the
64
kicker.
billion.
California's
They briefly
estimate
thought
keeps
they were
going
getting
up.
it under control. By
In 2008, when voters
it was
approved it,
106
the estimate
billion.
was 33
Today,
billion.
135
By
billion.
2012, it was
Some
68
experts think
billion.
the final cost could hit 200
By
billion if they actually
2016,
finish
it was
the whole
64
thing.
billion.
That's a
They
cost
briefly thought
overrun
they
of
were
over
getting it under
300%
control.
from the original estimate.
By
So,
2022,
what the hell is
it was
going
106
on? Is
billion.
Chinese labor just super cheap?
Today,
Is it all slave labor and corner cutting?
135 billion.
Actually, the answer is
Some
way more
experts
nuanced
think the
than
final
that,
cost
and
could
way
hit
more
200
interesting.
billion if they
According
actually
to multiple
finish the whole
studies,
thing.
including one from the World Bank that
That's a
specifically
cost
analyzed
overrun
this
of over
question, China's
300% from
construction
the
costs
original
are about
estimate.
one-third
So
lower
what the hell
than
is going
comparable
on?
projects in other countries, not
Is
18
Chinese labor
times
just
lower.
super cheap?
One-third. So,
Is it all
what
slave
explains the
labor and
massive
corner
difference
cutting?
we're seeing with California and
Actually,
other American
the
projects?
answer is way more
It
nuanced
comes
than
down
that,
to 5
and way
major
more
factors,
interesting.
and some of these will surprise you.
According to
Factor
multiple
number
studies,
1,
including
scale
one from the
and
World Bank that
standardization.
specifically analyzed
And
this
this is
question,
absolutely
China's
crucial.
construction
In
costs
America,
are about
every
one-third lower
high-speed
than
rail
comparable
station is
projects
designed
in
like
other
it's a unique
countries.
architectural masterpiece.
Not
Every
18
bridge
times
is
lower.
custom engineered. Every tunnel
One-third.
gets its own environmental impact
So what
study
explains
and
the
design
massive difference we're
specifications.
seeing with
Don't get me
California
wrong,
and other
some of
American
these designs
projects?
are beautiful,
It comes down
but
to
they're
5
also
major
incredibly
factors,
expensive and
and some of these will
time-consuming.
surprise you.
China took a completely different approach.
Factor number
They
1.
said, we're
Scale
building
and
25,000
standardization.
miles.
And this is
We don't
absolutely
have time
crucial.
or money for bespoke everything. So
In
they
America,
created standardized
every high-speed
templates.
rail station
Same
is designed
basic
like it's a
station
unique
design
architectural
with regional
masterpiece.
modifications, same bridge specifications,
Every bridge is custom engineered.
same tunnel boring techniques,
Every
same
tunnel
track
gets
laying
its own
equipment.
environmental
They literally
impact study and
mass-produce
design
rail components in
specifications.
massive factories, stations,
Don't get me wrong.
bridges,
Some of these
track
designs are
segments,
beautiful,
then ship them
but
to
they're
the
also
construction
incredibly
site and assemble
expensive
them
and
like IKEA
time-consuming.
furniture. It's not sexy.
China
It's
took a
not
completely
architecturally
different
groundbreaking.
approach.
But you know what?
They
It
said,
works,
we're building
and it's
25,000
fast.
miles.
A standardized Chinese
We don't
high-speed
have
rail
time or
station
money
can be
for
built
bespoke
in 6
everything.
to 9 months. A custom
So they
American
created
station,
standardized
3 to 5
templates.
years, just for the station.
Same basic station
Factor
design
number
with
2,
regional
streamlined
modifications.
approvals, or as I like
Same
to call
bridge
it, the reason
specifications.
California's rail spent a decade
Same
doing
tunnel boring
paperwork before
techniques.
laying a single inch of track.
Same track laying
Building
equipment.
high-speed rail in America
They
means
literally
navigating
mass-produce
what I
rail
can only
components
describe
in
as
massive
bureaucratic
factories,
hell.
stations,
You need
bridges,
approval from
track
federal
segments,
agencies,
then ship
state
them to the
agencies,
construction
county
site and assemble them like
city
IKEA furniture.
agencies, environmental agencies,
It's not
historical
sexy.
preservation societies,
It's not architecturally
and about 40
groundbreaking.
other organizations.
But you know
You
what?
need environmental impact
It
reports that
works.
can take years to complete.
And it's fast.
Then those reports get challenged
A
in
standardized
court. Then you
Chinese
do another
high-speed rail
study.
station
Then
can
that
be
gets
built in
challenged.
6 to 9 months.
Then you have community meetings where everyone
A
gets
custom
to voice
American
their opinions
station?
for hours.
3 to
California's
5
high-speed
years.
rail project has faced
Just
over
for the
100
station.
lawsuits.
Factor number 2.
100. From
Streamlined
environmental groups
approvals,
saying it
or as
harms
I like to call
wildlife,
it,
from
the reason
property owners
California's
saying it
rail spent a
violates their
decade
rights,
doing
from
paperwork
counties
before
saying the
laying a
route is
single
wrong,
inch of track.
from taxpayer groups saying it's too
Building
expensive.
high-speed rail in
One
America
lawsuit,
means
just
navigating
one,
what I can only
over whether the
describe as
project
bureaucratic
properly
hell.
analyzed its
You
water
need
usage
approval
took
from
4
federal
years to
agencies,
resolve.
state
In
agencies,
China,
county
the
agencies,
central government says
city
we're building
agencies,
high-speed
environmental
rail from
agencies,
Beijing to Shanghai,
historical preservation
and it's essentially
societies,
a done
and about
deal.
40 other
There are
organizations.
environmental reviews, yes. There are
You need
feasibility
environmental
studies,
impact reports
absolutely.
that can take
But
years
there's
to
no
complete.
10-year court battle. There's
Then
no
those
endless
reports
cycle
get
of
challenged in
appeals.
court.
The government makes the decision.
Then you do
the
another
planning
study.
happens quickly, and construction
Then that
begins.
gets challenged.
For better or worse,
Then you
and
have
we can
community
debate the
meetings
for
where where
better or
everyone gets
worse
to
part
voice their
all day.
opinions for hours.
Things move, fast.
California's
Average
high-speed
time
rail
from approval
project
to
has faced
construction
over
start in the
100
US.
lawsuits.
7 to 12 years
1.
in China.
100.
18 months to 3 years.
From environmental groups
Factor
saying
number
it harms
3,
wildlife.
land acquisition. And honestly,
From property
this
owners
might be the
saying it
biggest
violates
factor
their
of all.
rights.
In the United States, property rights are sacrosanct. If the government wants to build rail through your land, they have to negotiate with you. And if you don't want to sell, you can fight it in court for years. California's rail project needs to acquire thousands of parcels of land. Every single owner has rights. Every single owner can negotiate. Every single owner can sue. Land acquisition costs for California's project are estimated at over $8 billion. That's billion with a B, just for the land. Not the tracks, not the trains, not the stations, just the dirt underneath. In China, here's the thing that Americans often don't understand. The government technically owns all land. Citizens and companies can lease land for decades, essentially owning it functionally, but the underlying ownership is the state's. So when China decides to build rail, they compensate people and businesses for their leases and relocate them, sometimes generously, sometimes not. But there's no option to refuse. There's no decade-long legal battle. The rail gets built. Now, before anyone jumps in the comments, yes, this system has serious problems. There are legitimate concerns about forced relocations and inadequate compensation. It's not a system I'd want in America, but from a purely logistical, how do you build infrastructure fast perspective, it works. Factor number 4, construction speed, the actual building part. Chinese rail construction runs 24/7, 3 shifts of workers. Crews working through the night under massive floodlights, specialized machinery that can lay track at speeds that seem impossible. They use these incredible machines, basically mobile track factories, that can lay several miles of track per day. The machine rolls forward and completed track comes out the back. The Beijing to Shanghai high-speed rail line, 819 miles, was built in 3 years. That's from breaking ground to opening day. By comparison, the UK's High Speed 2 project, which is 140 miles, has been under construction for over 10 years and still isn't finished. A typical high-speed rail station in China, 6 to 9 months to build. In California, 36 to 60 months. Now, part of America's slower speed is because we have stricter labor laws, safety regulations, and union agreements. And those are good things. I'm not saying we should sacrifice worker safety for speed, but it does mean construction takes longer and costs more. Factor number 5, and this is the one Americans really need to understand. China sees high-speed rail as competition for highways and airlines, not a supplement. China deliberately designed their high-speed rail system to be faster and cheaper than flying for trips under 600 miles. They want people on trains instead of planes and cars. Why? Less highway congestion, lower carbon emissions, energy independence. Trains can run on domestically produced electricity instead of imported oil. And national economic integration, making it easy for people and goods to move between cities. America has the best highway system in the world. We have incredibly cheap domestic flights. Our cities are more spread out. So the political will to invest trillions in rail just isn't there. If you can drive from LA to San Francisco in 6 hours or fly in 90 minutes for $99, why spend $135 billion on a train? Why America can't or won't compete. So let's address the elephant in the room. Could America build high-speed rail like China if we really wanted to? Technically, yes, absolutely. We have the money. We're the richest country in human history. We have the engineering expertise. We have the technology. So why don't we? Here's the uncomfortable truth that nobody in politics really wants to say out loud. We have 50 different state governments with 50 different sets of priorities and competing interests. Texas doesn't want to pay for California's rail. Florida doesn't care about a Northeast corridor. And good luck getting Wyoming to support high-speed rail infrastructure. We have private freight companies like Union Pacific and BNSF that own most of America's rail lines. And they're not interested in sharing tracks with high-speed passenger rail. It interferes with their billion-dollar freight operations. We have a political system where major infrastructure projects get started by one administration, then killed, underfunded, or redesigned by the next administration every 4 to 8 years. And let's be really honest, we have an entire culture built around cars. The American love affair with automobiles isn't just romantic language, it's our economy. We have massive auto manufacturers, oil companies, tire companies, gas stations, car insurance companies, parking lot operators. These industries employ millions of people and generate trillions in revenue, and they spend billions lobbying politicians to keep things exactly the way they are. High-speed rail between Dallas and Houston? Killed. High-speed rail in Florida? Killed. Midwest high-speed rail network? Underfunded into irrelevance. Northeast corridor upgrades? Been in progress for decades. But here's what nobody wants to admit, and this might be controversial. Maybe we don't actually want high-speed rail badly enough. Think about it. California has been planning their train for 30 years. 30. If they actually, truly, desperately wanted it built, it would be done by now. The truth is, the political will just isn't there. There are too many competing interests, too much money invested in the status quo, and not enough people angry enough to force change. Sure, polls show Americans support high-speed rail in theory, but when it comes time to actually fund it, fight for it, and prioritize it over everything else, the enthusiasm disappears. What happens next? So what does the future look like? Because while America is still debating whether to build 19th century rail technology, the rest of the world has moved on. China is already testing magnetic levitation trains that hit 400 miles per hour. Not in a lab, on actual test tracks with paying passengers. Their current plan, 8,000 more miles under construction right now, another 7,000 miles in planning stages. By 2035, their goal is 50,000 miles of high-speed rail, almost double what they have now. The vision is, you'll be able to travel from Beijing to literally any provincial capital in the entire country in 8 hours or less. That's like being able to get from New York to literally anywhere in the continental United States in under a day by train. Meanwhile, Europe is connecting their networks across borders. You can already take high-speed rail from London to Paris, Paris to Berlin, Berlin to Vienna, Vienna to Rome. They're integrating entire continents. Japan is building their Chuo Shinkansen maglev line, Tokyo to Osaka in just 67 minutes. That's 320 miles in just over an hour. And America? Well, we finally got $8.2 billion in new rail funding announced in 2024. And don't get me wrong, that's great, that's progress. Except, $8 billion sounds like a lot until you realize that's enough to build maybe 30 miles of high-speed rail at current costs. Maybe 50 if we're lucky and efficient. Definitely not enough to build a network. There are some bright spots. Brightline in Florida is actually operational and privately funded, though it's not quite true high speed. They're planning a line from Los Angeles to Las Vegas. Texas Central is still trying to build Houston to Dallas, though it's been struggling financially. California's project continues. Maybe it'll open by 2030, maybe 2035, maybe never. Time will tell. So, what's the lesson here? Because this video isn't really about trains, it's about something bigger. This is about what happens when a country decides something is a priority, not just politically convenient, not just popular in polls, but an actual, funded, defended, executed priority. China said, "We're building the world's best rail network in 2008. 17 years later, they have it. America said, "We should have high-speed rail" in 1965 with the High-Speed Ground Transportation Act. That's 60 years ago. 60 years later, we're still having the same conversation. And this pattern repeats across infrastructure. China builds subway systems in 5 years that take American cities 25 years. They build airports the size of small cities in 4 years. They built a 55-kilometer bridge over the ocean connecting Hong Kong, Zhuhai, and Macau, one of the longest sea crossings ever built, in 9 years. Meanwhile, American infrastructure gets a C- grade from our own civil engineers. Our bridges are crumbling. Our water systems are aging. Our electrical grid is outdated. We know this. We've known this for decades. And we keep not fixing it. So, the question isn't whether America can build high-speed rail. We absolutely can. The question is whether we will. Whether we can overcome the politics, the lobbying, the bureaucracy, the lawsuits, the cost overruns, and actually finish something. Because we have the engineers, we have the workers, we have the money. What we apparently don't have is the collective willpower to prioritize long-term infrastructure over short-term political wins. Imagine an alternate America where you could take a train from New York to Chicago in 4 hours, LA to San Francisco in 2 hours, Seattle to Portland in 45 minutes, where college students could easily travel between cities for jobs and internships, where businesses could expand across regions without relying on expensive flights, where our carbon emissions dropped dramatically because millions of trips shifted from planes and cars to electric rail. That's the future China is building right now. The question is, will we build it too? Or will we still be having this same conversation in 2065? 1. Would you actually use high-speed rail if America built it? Or are you perfectly happy with your car and cheap flights? 2. Should we copy China's approach and just build it, or are our regulations and processes protecting important rights? 3. What's one route you'd want to see built first? New York to DC, LA to San Francisco, Chicago to anywhere. And if you made it this far, you're clearly interested in infrastructure. Check out my video on why America's airports are falling behind, or why our subway systems cost 10 times more than Europe's to build. Hit subscribe. I'll see you in the next one.